Welcome to Learn the Sword. A lot of students ask, how do I become more proficient drawing the sword? And again, I say, it just takes lots of practice. Don't think about it and don't try to be as fluid as possible. Try to take your keyhone and just build on it and make it a little bit easier. It might take a lot longer than you think, but that's the way life is. Just the way life is. To become proficient in anything takes time, effort, and of course, lots of discipline. Using a sword takes a whole bunch of discipline because you have to hone down to the point basically and make sure everything's good. So when you finish one part of the sword, then you got to polish down another part, and when you're done with that, you got to polish down another part, and basically it takes a long time to go full circle. Although, as I said previously and many times before, you become proficient in a shorter amount of time. Now, drawing the sword is pretty easy, and I've explained it away in lots of different aspects. But as I'm talking now, I'm just going to stand here for a second, loosen up my arms, grab your iaito. Now, this is a dull metal sword for the students who are using a dull metal sword at this time. The biggest important factor is how you draw and sheathe the sword and what is applied. You need oil on the blade. You don't need oil on the blade to keep it from rusting. You need oil on the blade when you're drawing this thing back and forth. Because if there isn't oil on your inanimate object, sometimes it doesn't penetrate as correct as it should. So if you have an object that doesn't penetrate correctly, then you use oil, and of course it penetrates a little easier. Sword is no different. No different at all. So what you do is you grab something like some Japanese sword oil. The viscosity is really good. You put a little bit on the blade with a 1 to 2 square inch piece of material, like you know how they clean guns and they have those little pieces of cotton that are like 2 inches square. You just put a little bit of this oil on that, put that in there and just run it up the blade. It isn't cleaning the blade as much as it's putting on a coating over it so you can easily run the blade through your fingers. And the reason why is, if you try to run a dirty blade through your fingers, it catches and it pulls and it isn't smooth, and you just don't get the correct action you could before. Therefore, I just put oil on the blade. Feels really, really nice. Of course, this is a dull blade. It's an aluminum alloy probably. And it has a little bit of, what will we say, a chrome on the outside. Very nice. This weighs maybe about 900 grams, a little less than 2 pounds. And I'll just put it away. Now, the nice thing about iaitos is, this is because you can draw it all day long and be as sloppy as you can and still get practice in without fearing the blade. Because using a shinken, you make one little mistake, you'll pay for it for some time. With an iaito, worst case scenario is you pull it out too far and you jam the tip, which is fairly sharp, into your hand here, which happens occasionally, and you put a little bit of blood on it, but not a lot. But that's probably the worst case scenario. But taking that into effect, now what we want to do is bring your hands underneath, push out the blade, and then put it away. And now I want you to just stand like this, pull the blade from underneath, don't grab it like this, be consistent, hands at your side akimbo, elbows lift, and step and pull. Bring the sword back and stand back into it. So all of a sudden we're just basically standing like this, grab, pull, step, same time. Bring the sword back into this area here. And what I'd like you to do is just practice this over and over and over again until it becomes smooth. So you don't have to think about it. I just come on in here and I start moving it back and forth like that. And I might go at different angles. For example, after I get this established, hands in and 1, bring it back, and horizontal angle. And bring it back, and an upward angle. So there's lots of different aspects you can practice with this. And if you saw this, kata 1 is basically an upward angle. So watch how I'm going to do it. Bring it in here, hold it, adjust the handle where it is, and boom, it's up. You didn't see me turn my hand up and down or move it around, or you didn't see me when I was trying to turn this way, like on kata 2. You didn't see me trying to pull the sword way out and come around like this and cut. No, no, no. You saw me turn, point, pull the sword. Because if I try to cut around the corner, or if I try to cut out of this saya and I don't clear the saya before I start the cut, what's going to happen is I'm going to score the inside of this. I'm going to pull too hard and I'll break down the sheath, but moreover, I will start getting a bad habit that keeps the sword about right here locked in this way, and for some reason my arms are too short or my hips are off. No, we just have to learn how to adjust it so it adjusts in a little bit better. So, I'd like you to watch your TV program or whatever you do to get mind, no mind, and just take and move forward and pull the sword and draw it in basically 3 different angles. A downward diagonal cut, a horizontal cut, bring it in, move back, an upward cut like that, and just keep going back and forth. And, ready, 1, and just worry about pulling in. Now, the really cool thing about this is that I'm using a lot of oil on the blade, and you can see that it just moves in and out really smooth, and it's not holding on the fingers from dry areas. So I feel that if you want to pull the sword consistently, about every 20 or 30 pulls, depending on the viscosity of your oil, then take the little piece of cloth that has oil onto it that you probably keep in a little medicine bottle or a little bitty square thing. You pull it out and just go up the blade one more time and you got another 20 or 30 pulls. And when it starts getting a little hard to pull, just put it back on and do it over and over. And that will give you a lot more action than not.